And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer, number 114, the episode. Hello, Shannon.
Hello, Tim. Wait, that way.
Yes. Wait, which way do we normally do it? I don't know anymore.
Usually you're on the
Hello
left,
there.
I think.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Yeah, we'll just dance. Yeah, anyway, how's your day been? What's new in a nutshell?
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you, it has been raining for 2 days straight. It has
Oh my
been
God.
totally flooded in my area. I almost drowned
Oh,
my car and myself today because it was like 2 feet of water.
oh,
Um,
I'm glad you didn't.
right? Because I'm less than 5 feet. I'm probably 5'1", if anything, at the most. So yeah, that was pretty deep. So
Exactly.
yeah, but I made it here.
You did make it. You made it through the floods and the storms, and so thanks for being here. And thank all of you who are here, whether you're here live or on the replay. We already see you posting comments. Thank you, all of you people from around the world. And this show was created as a safe space for cancer patients, survivors, and supporters all show up. See what I did there? Show up together to share their stories and connect, as well as find resources that provide healing, hope, and resilience. My name's Tim Sohn. I'm a 17-year cancer warrior, host of Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer, author of 2 books, which I don't have alongside me, but I do have a book called Quotes from Goats. So I might break out that later. And if you want to find information about the books or the show or the in-person event that's coming up October 5th and 6th, you can go to perspectivesoncancer.com. And over to you, Shannon.
So, Tim, since you brought up the quotes
Shannon.
from goats, what does the goat say?
That's a good question. That's what the goat says. Yes. And I think since you broke out the goat, I think maybe we should break out a quote from a goat. What do you think?
I think so. Before I introduce myself, I totally think
Yes.
you should introduce a quote from a goat.
Okay, here we go. Today's goat quote is eat more, worry less.
I like that. But then the question is, if you eat more, then you start worrying about your weight more. So is it
That's
really
true.
worry less?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, hang on. I'm going to look for an alternative one, but I'm not going to look. Don't believe everything you hear.
I like
Quote
that
number
one.
2 of the day.
And worry less about what you hear. Yes.
Yes. And now over to you, Shannon.
I am the wonderful Tim's co-host. I'm Shannon Lee Sin. I am a 12 plus year, 12 and a half year survivor of stage 3C colon cancer. I was diagnosed at the age of 29. And as my skull cap says, please check your colon if you're 45 or older, or if you have any symptoms or family history at any age. Thank you. That's my little PSA.
Thank you for the PSA.
And I do want to thank everyone for showing up for us and joining us. In my case, rain. Some of you, you show up week after week, rain, sun, sleet, snow, all of it. And we really appreciate you. Please tell us where you're tuning in from around the world and what your connection is to cancer. We always appreciate you being here. We do want this to be a conversation, so we encourage you to connect with each other in the chat and also hit the share button to let your friends, family, and colleagues know about the show.
Definitely. All those things. Plus some. Yes. And before we bring our awesome guest on tonight, which I'm super excited about because I had the chance to meet our guest tonight in person twice within a matter of like weeks. And she's amazing. But before I bring her on, I just want to let you guys know a few things and remind you of a few things. There's going to be another book coming out, most likely in November, called Perspectives on Invisible Illnesses. And so this is going to be another book where there's going to be my story, but the stories of other people. So I'd like to invite you, if you have an invisible illness. I always struggle with the words invisible illness together. It's like, say that 10 times in a row, invisible illness, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Anyway, so if you have a cancer that's invisible, if you have depression or PTSD or heart disease or any illness that you cannot see from outside. Like you're walking down the street, if somebody could tell you have, or you don't have to be walking down the street, you could just be sitting in a chair in a conversation. Anyway, I am looking for people who want to be featured authors in this book, who want to share their story, and you'd be sharing, it would be about 2,000 to 3,000 words, and it would be your story and your perspectives on your invisible illness. So please reach out to me if you would like to be a contributor to the book, and I can send you details and we could chat and all the things. Also, the 2024 in-person Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer event is like a few months away, guys. It's October 5th and 6th. And I'm narrowing down the venues, and it's most likely going to be in New York City. So go to perspectivesoncancer.com, sign up. If you would like to be a sponsor for the event, please reach out to me. We still need a bunch of money to, this year I want to raise enough money to obviously cover all the expenses for the event, but also to pay for at least partial travel expenses for some of the cancer patients and survivors like we were able to do last year. So please reach out to me if you have any questions, if you'd like to be a sponsor. Would love for you to get involved in some sort of way. We have a GoFundMe set up as well. I'll put a link to that in the chat if anybody wants to contribute to the GoFundMe, or if you want to be a sponsor for the event, just shoot me a message. And I feel like I'm talking a lot, so I'm going to turn it over to Shannon to introduce our guest.
If you are excited for tonight's guest, please type in the chat, heck yeah, because today we're going to have a conversation with the awesome Michele Tachirhart. She was diagnosed with CML, which is chronic myeloid leukemia, right, Tim? Okay, see, I'm learning. On February 9th, 2011. Her diagnosis changed her life and the course of her life, but it did not destroy her optimistic nature nor dampen her enthusiasm toward living her best life. And she has totally done that. While learning to manage her disease, she found that sharing her understanding of CML, the good, the bad, and the ugly, became important not only to her, but to other CML patients as well. Michele never dreamed she would be a patient advocate, but she has embraced all that leukemia has brought to her life, and she has really made it turn out to be something that she has paid forward, and she's helped so many others. And I truly am excited about the interview with her tonight and the conversation. Let's welcome Michele to the show.
Hello, Michele.
Hi, Shannon, you're going to make me cry. That was just so nice. How are you both?
It was heartfelt, Michele. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for showing up. And how are you? We're great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Great day. No rain at my house. I'm sure
jealous.
It's probably coming right from you to me.
Oh, yeah, I hope not.
Probably. That's typically what happens.
There you go. And we want to know, all of you who are watching, this is becoming like a new thing on the show. We have the weather forecast segment of the show. So let us know, what is the weather forecast where you are? Because sunny is awesome.
Sunny's awesome.
Send some my way.
Michele, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Like I was saying before, we've actually met in person. We are in a group with other people who are helping to create content for people who have been recently diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia or have side effects, that kind of thing, and how to get through that. And also, look who's here. Look who's here, Michele.
Who's here?
Alyssa is here.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Alyssa. She's also part of our group.
Awesome.
Yes. So we want to thank all of you who are here, and I just want to bring some comments on and say hello to everyone. Carolyn is here. She says hello.
Hey, Carolyn.
She's in Denver, Colorado. Family cancer history. Oh, a history of family. You know what I'm trying to say.
Family history of cancer. Gotcha.
Yolanda says hello. Welcome, Yolanda.
Hey, Yolanda.
Alyssa is in Eugene, Oregon, or Oregon, I guess, depending where you live. Living out loud, almost 3 years. She also has CML, so it's
We
awesome.
are popular tonight.
I
We
love
are
living out loud.
popular. Yes, and Buddy is here. He says hello from Denton, Texas. Family history and now personal battle.
Oh gosh.
Sending
Sending
you lots
hugs.
of positive vibes, Buddy.
Yes.
Always. Mary says invisible. I'm not really sure why, but
Invisible. Invisible ivness.
I don't know. I don't know if she was trying to be funny or if I don't. Let us know what you were trying to say, Mary, because I'm totally confused. Jill is here. She says hello from Pittsburgh. Kara is here. Kara is one of the contributors to the first Perspectives on Cancer book. She says, hey, all. Savannah here. Welcome. And I totally agree with Alyssa. She says, heck yeah, Michele is awesome.
Thanks, Alyssa. You too.
Yes. So, Michele,
Yes, Tim.
are you ready to share your cancer story?
I suppose I'm ready. What would you like to know?
Well, take us back to when you found out you were diagnosed that you had CML. How did you find out? And just kind of take us from there.
Well, I was one of the lucky people that actually had all the signs and symptoms of leukemia, which, if people don't know, they can include night sweats, a rash, fatigue, feeling a fullness in the abdomen, bruising. I can't even think what the other ones are. And I also had blood due to an optometry visit. I was told I had broken capillaries inside my eyes. And I had been kind of battling all those different side effects and symptoms actually for quite some time. And I had kind of managed to explain them all away. You have a big bruise. I shouldn't have run into that. I'm clumsy. Should be more careful. I'm tired. And, it's kind of like, well, I'm doing too much. But you can explain those things away. But I went to a routine annual exam and told my gynecological oncologist that all those symptoms that I had, and there was always a chance that these ovarian tumors could come back. And in the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking that might be what happened. I might be having a recurrence of that. Leukemia never entered my mind. And so I told him all the symptoms, and he ordered blood work, ordered a CT scan. He was very thorough. We talked about all of those things, and basically he told me not to worry and sent me on my way, and he'd call me in the morning, which he did. On my way, I'll tell this cute little story because this is just the most ironic thing. I got in the elevator to go home. It was after 5 o'clock because I was one of the last appointments of the day. And this doctor, a different doctor I'd never met before, got in the elevator with me, and he looked at me and he kind of tilted his head and he's like, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, thanks for asking. I'm fine." And he asked me 3 times. And I kept saying, "Yes, I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Hope you have a great day." And I got in the car. In the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking, why did he ask me that? Why
Yeah.
would what about me made him ask me this question, right? So I pondered it a little while, went home, was getting ready to make the 2-hour drive back to my house from my parents, and I got the phone call. I was literally brushing my teeth, looking in the mirror, my phone rang. I answered it, spit out my toothpaste, and my oncologist said, "Michele, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have leukemia."
Mm.
And I remember looking at myself in the mirror and going, wrong number, wrong patient, make another phone call. No, it couldn't possibly be. And he said, "I'm sorry to tell you, you do." And I said, "How do you know?" That was my very first question. "How do you know?" He said, "Because your white count's high." I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Your white count is extremely high. And I said, I still don't understand. I said, what does that mean? He said, normal white count is between 4 and 10,000. You have 395,000 white cells in your blood. I'm concerned. I have a doctor waiting for you at the emergency room, and I would like you to get there as soon as possible. So I immediately went into, okay, I have leukemia. It's a blood cancer. What's next? What do I do? And I asked if I could drive myself, and he said no, he'd prefer if I could get a ride. That would probably be better. He was concerned for brain bleeds. I'd also been having headaches. So I told my mother, "Where's dad? Apparently I have leukemia." And she said, "What?" She was brushing her teeth ironically as well. Spit out the toothpaste. It's like, "What?" And, she said, "He's out watering the plants." And so I went out, "Dad, I have leukemia. Can you take me to the hospital?" So he, did, drop me off. He said, "You'll be fine. Give us a call," tears in his eyes, and off I go in the emergency room. They got me right in, put me behind a curtain, and I immediately started asking questions. I insisted nurses print off information on leukemia. I asked anybody that walked in the room about it. Nobody would give me any information. The nurses, I think because I was so insistent just to shut me up, printed stuff off and gave it to me just to keep me quiet. Hour later, the curtain opens, and who's standing there but that doctor from the elevator? He looked at me and said, "It's you." And I looked at him and said, "It's you." And he said, "I told you you didn't look good." And I asked him then, "What made you ask me?" And he said, "You are just very pale and you look very sick." So I was admitted, bone marrow biopsy confirmed CML, and we started treatment right away. So it was less than 24 hours. While I probably had CML for much longer, it was less than 24 hours from seeing a doctor to starting treatment. So it happened really fast for me.
Wow. I am just it's kind of scary how a lot of times we're sick and we just don't know. So I'm glad that you ended up, being saved, literally.
Yeah.
Um, so Michele, what do you think is the main thing that has kept you alive for 13 years, which is amazing?
It is amazing. It's it's a rough road, rough start, first couple of years. I guess my absolute determination to live and my medication. Barely 10 years prior to my diagnosis, this cancer was terminal. They didn't have a treatment for it, and they didn't cure it. And at the time, there were 3 medications that were available to me, um, and which made me feel like, well, if one doesn't work, I will have another and another chance. And as time goes on, maybe even more opportunities. So I would say, my determination to live, my doctors in my corner, and the medication, definitely has kept me alive. And that attitude from day one was, what do I do? What do I do next? I'm not ready to die. I've got kids, I've got grandkids. I love life. I love my life. I want to be here. What do I need to do? And it's just been kind of a marching forward ever since. Never stopping, never stopping.
Yeah.
Since I've known you, Michele, which isn't that long, you seem to be a very outgoing, pretty positive mindset, funny person. Have you always been that way? And has cancer changed your mindset, I guess, at all?
I don't know. My family doesn't find me very funny.
Well, I do.
My family isn't as good at me as my daughter does. She finds me funny. She's funny too. I have always had, I guess, an optimistic outlook on life. I don't know why. I think I get it from my mother. I lost a
Mm.
sister when I was a teenager. She was only 7. I've had losses of teenage kids through accidents, not my own, but one's very close to me. Just a lot of death, a lot of loss in my life, a lot of things that could make people really sad and depressed and not happy. But I think it also has opened my eyes that life can disappear at a moment's notice. It can change on a dime. I got leukemia out of nowhere, and it can be over. And I feel blessed and privileged and grateful for my life. And I just love life. I love my life. I love my kids. I love my grandkids. I love traveling. I love meeting new people. So I don't know. I don't know. It makes me a little, probably having cancer for 13 years probably makes me a little more grateful and realize just that life's just even more precious than I already did think it was. Yeah.
I totally get that so much. I mean, you
Do
and I
you?
have spoken, and it's like, I feel like after cancer, it's like everything smells better, the sun is
Yeah.
brighter, the wind is cooler, the sky is bluer, the grass is greener, the flowers are prettier. Like,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. Like, I think we appreciate the little things more, right, Tim? Like,
Yeah.
I know you take your nature walks and you just enjoy everything around you too. And I think it really opens our eyes.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Shannon. It does. Yeah. Yeah. I feel so fortunate to be here. There's other CML patients who haven't been lucky enough to live, So I'm very grateful.
Yeah. So, you're an optimist. So I want to hear like specifically like what is the silver lining in your journey? Because we all seem to find these silver linings and things that people are like, "Are you crazy?"
Are you crazy? I probably have 2 silver linings. One of them is I have met the most wonderful people on this journey. Both of you, I never would have met you had I
Same.
not had right? If I hadn't had cancer. Alyssa, we met in person. I never would have met her. What a delight she is. All of the people. There's so many people out there that have become a part of my life and my cancer family that I never would have known. And so they're a blessing. They're a blessing. All of it, the opportunities that have, managed to come forward that you don't think of those things at the time when you're diagnosed with cancer. The other more obvious one was I had a really bad toxic reaction to an antibiotic called Cipro. Cipro and Levaquin are from the same class of family. And they cause tendon tears and ruptures and an extreme pain in my lower extremities, my whole body. And this is going to sound weird coming from me. 6 weeks into that happening, I wanted to die. I was in so much pain. I didn't want to live. I was like, if this is the rest of my life, I can't do this. I mean, I walked like I was 90. I could barely move my feet 4 or 5 inches ahead. I could barely put weight on them. I could barely wear clothes because of the pain. So it improved a bit after 6 weeks, but it changed my life. It was devastating. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. And after my second chemotherapy treatment in the hospital, I went to get out of bed as per usual. I barely would put my feet on the floor and I'd slowly ease my weight onto them because it hurt so bad. And I stood up and I looked at my husband and I burst into tears. And I just started crying and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "My feet don't hurt." That pain was gone. My knees didn't hurt, my Achilles didn't hurt, my hips didn't hurt. I walked to the bathroom like a normal person and was able to sit on the toilet and get up. And the nurse, I told her, because I'm crying when they come in and they're like, "What is going on in here?" And I explained to them what had happened. And she said it's a very common thing that people with autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, that sort of thing, and fibromyalgia, which is unexplained pain, which I believe a lot of it comes from Cipro, that this reversal can happen. So that was a huge, huge, huge silver lining for me. So I would take leukemia over that pain any day. So yeah, that was a long story, huh?
No, it's all good. It's all good. And
Yeah.
Mary is sharing all of the emojis in response to what you said. So thank you for all the emojis. Nita says, Michele, I'm glad you're doing well. May God and the angels watch over you always.
Oh, thank you.
And Nick is here. She says, good evening. I'm late. You are never late, Nick. You are always on
Right
time.
on time.
Right on
Especially when you
time.
show up. That's the most important part.
Exactly. And Alyssa says, all the enriched relationships and people that walk into your life. Yes.
It's crazy, huh?
So much. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if we all didn't have cancer, we all would not have ended up here, I'm guessing.
No.
So yeah.
Take those silver linings, right? They're blessings. May not be what you had planned, but here we are. And how lucky are we?
I call all the friends that I've made, like you, Michele, and of course Tim. I always say that you're the sugar in my lemonade. You know, y'all are the sugar in my lemonade.
Yeah, yeah. We're such. Yeah, we would not have met otherwise. It's
here,
amazing.
Shannon. I got you here.
I know.
Pops, I know, right?
He's like, she's
here, Michele. I got you too. Here.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh. Well, everybody, we are here at Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer with our amazing guest, Michele Tachirhart. So, Michele, I'm curious how, and I guess you've talked a little bit about this, but could you talk a little bit more about how has cancer changed your perspective on life, or has it?
Like I said, it's made it a little sweeter, a little more precious, a little more. I tend to do things now. It's hard to make plans sometimes. And in the beginning, it was really hard to make plans because you didn't know how you're going to feel. So do you spend $300 on the Wicked ticket or not? Because you might not wake up and feel good enough to go. But as time has gone on, I'm a little better at probably in a good phase and I'll make it. So I'm better probably at doing things now, like trips and traveling. It's like I feel like I need to do it now while I still can and while I'm still feeling good. So I love to travel. I was just telling Tim earlier that we're planning a trip to Sweden and Norway and Switzerland and then maybe Athens and Prague and Paris and home or something. I don't know. But once I get there, I'm not like, I know that traveling's hard. So I make sure I stay 4 or 5 days in each place because there's almost always a down day where I have to really rest and relax. And I can only probably go 3 or 4 hours a day. That's pushing it, probably 2 or 3 hours a day for real. But that's okay. That's okay. So I seize those moments when I can, and I reach out and I grab them, and I just, when opportunities knock, I really try to take advantage of them. But I don't know. So it's changed a little bit, although I was always kind of spontaneous, and I don't know, kind of I did a lot more back then. Yeah, before diagnosis, but so not a lot, I would say. Although I do feel life is short and life is more precious by that much more. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. That definitely resonates with me too.
Yeah.
In terms of like, when you're making decisions about, traveling or whatever it is, like whatever makes you happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like being a cancer survivor, and everybody has their own perspective, of course. For me, I know it makes me want to do more, like be more intentional about the things I do, and especially things that are going to bring me joy, right?
Absolutely. And don't dwell on the negative things. Life is way too short for that.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And I put in the comments before, since Michele was talking about traveling, I would love if you let us know, all of you who are watching, where do you want to travel to? We want to know that as well.
Yeah,
Right, Michelle?
absolutely. I love watching other people's travels. I've got a friend right now in Uganda, and I'm just loving her posts. Yeah.
Mm.
I love to share in other people's travels.
Well,
International
Michelle,
Space
Mary wants
Station,
to go
Mary,
to
you're
yeah.
way braver than me. Way braver than me.
No,
Oh my gosh.
That's
Well,
I guess you
Michelle.
only live once. You only die once too. You only get lost in space once too. So
That's true. I'd be scared.
That is true. That is true. Well, speaking of joy, talk to us, Michelle, about how you've got inspired to work in patient advocacy and with different, tell us about some of the whatever you can or want to share, whatever brands or organizations that you've been involved in that aspect.
Well, when I was first diagnosed, I never intended to become a patient advocate of any sort. I never intended to share my life and my story. I mean, was my family knew me and my friends knew me, but as far as ever speaking like something like this, I never would have done it. Never in a million years. I wouldn't even done a toast at a wedding. Not my thing. I just would have been terrified. School reports, I would take a 0 before I would do them, or an oral report. It just wasn't
Mm,
anything I've ever done, or aspired to do. What started it was the fact that I was so sick and I had so many people wanting to know how I was doing, what type of cancer I had, what was my treatment, how could they help, what could they do, was I okay, was I going to live, was I going to, all these questions. And the phone was just ringing and ringing and ringing. And I was in the hospital, and I would answer it if it was my mother or my sister, somebody really close to me, and I would try and explain everything. And then half the time I'd have to hand the phone to my husband and he would explain it, and it would be like over and over and over. And it just was exhausting. It's not that we didn't want people to know, it's just that we were both exhausted. We were dealing with the unknown. We really didn't know. We knew we had blood cancer. We knew it was CML. We knew that there was a good chance that I would pull out of where I was and carry on and have a decent life and all of those things, but you're too tired. So as I got better, the week 10 days in, I started researching CML, and I started it. My daughter was like, "Mom, put it on a blog where everybody can just read it." And I'm like, "What is a blog?" I had no idea. I didn't even know. She's like, "Here, let me send you something." So she sent me a link, and she goes, "You just put what you want on there and send everybody a link to it, and they can just read about it whenever they want to or whatever they want to know." So as I continued to read and learn about CML, which at that time there was very little information online, what I wanted to know the most was I wanted to find a person who had CML, who was alive and was alive for a long time. And what I kept finding was I kept finding people had CML, and they'd write a little bit about it or talk about it a little bit, and then they disappeared. So I'm like, did they get better? Did they die? So I didn't know. And the clinical stuff, I tried to understand it best I could. I talked to my doctors, and I wrote it on my blog. And as I continued to do this, as the months went by, people from all over the world started reaching out and saying, "Thank you so much. I'm not alone. This is the first time I
Yes.
found anything about CML. I didn't understand this. I didn't know I could speak up for myself." So I did posts like, "When choosing a doctor, choose wisely. You should ask these questions." Medications, all those things. So everything as I came up against it, each little hurdle I wrote about. And finding and hearing that it was helping others motivated me to continue to do so. And that is how actually I started. Was on a medication called Sprycel at the time, and Bristol Myers Squibb reached out to me and asked if I would come and speak at one of their big yearly meeting things, and
Mm.
Novartis had me do some advertising type, kind of like what we did, Tim and Alyssa, where they were trying to put together material, and they put a group of us together to try and narrow it down and see what would what's the word, like, resonate with patients and sort of that sort of thing, and then Takeda with Panatinib. So people just started reaching out through my blog, and at first I was a little reluctant because I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it got easier as time went on, and the fact that it was helping others helped me to know that I was helping others.
So, Michele, you spoke about your blog, and I know your blog has helped lots of people. I remember when I was first diagnosed, I felt alone. I was told I was an oddball and a rare case. And I happened to Google my illness and people who were young who had it, like me. There wasn't anybody, but I found one blog of one survivor. And that really changed my trajectory so much to make me know I wasn't alone and somebody survived this.
Right.
But I want to know, how has your blog helped you?
It gives you motivation. Just to know that you're helping others is a good feeling. To know that, and I'm not going to say it was all roses. I mean, my blog is called Dancing My Way Through Leukemia. I've added dancing and traveling my way through leukemia now, because I do more traveling than I do dancing. But what I found in the CML community is there's a lack of knowledgeable oncologists in CML, meaning most hematological oncologists will ever see one case of CML. It's rare. And if they see one, they probably only see one, unless you see somebody who sees many. And through my blog, I met many CML patients that didn't have good care. Some of them I was able to convince to see a specialist before it was too late, and some of them not. So there's more than should be that have passed away from CML, and in my opinion, it was due to not good care, or not good monitoring, and not necessarily that the doctors intentionally, of course, caused that, but by not knowing how this blood cancer can turn on a dime, the patients died. So it's a really hard thing. I mean, when you know somebody, you get to know somebody over a year or 2 years, and you see them progressing in this disease, and you're begging them, I don't care, I'll send you money for a plane ticket, just go see a specialist. And then when they finally decide to, it's too late. It's hard. So, but there's been others who've been like, okay, maybe I do need to, and it's turned them around and they've lived. So, it just kind of motivates me to keep standing up and having people stand up for themselves, teaching people that it's okay. It's okay to stand up and ask questions. It's okay to tell them what your side effects are. It's okay to tell them you mismedicate your doses, and maybe that's why your numbers went up, and the reason you missed doses, and I don't know. So just helping others is, my motivation and it makes me feel like I'm giving back to others, which gives you purpose, it's a purpose I didn't intend to have. I don't know if I would have chosen it, but now that I'm here, I might as well embrace it, right?
Indeed.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for all of that, Michele. And I want to remind everyone we're here at Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer with our guest, Michele Tachirhart. And Russ Hedge is in the house. He says, hey, everyone.
Russ!
Asani is here. He says he wants to go to Jamaica.
Oh,
And Kara wants to, she's going to Morocco the end of the month.
Ooh,
Wow,
fun.
Morocco.
Awesome. Safe travels and enjoy.
Yeah, and if you're just tuning in, like Russ Hedge here or Jill, let us know where you want to travel to. We want to know. And Jill says it is absolutely okay to stand up for yourself.
It's important. It's really important.
For sure. And Jill has an awesome podcast called the Everything Cancer Podcast.
Oh.
I was honored to be a guest on it just recently. So definitely Google Everything Cancer Podcast. Jill is an amazing host, and definitely connect with her and Russ. Just everybody connect. We're one big happy family here. So
It's awesome.
So do that. Michele, this is National Cancer Survivor Month, and I'm curious, what does cancer survivorship mean to you? What's your perspective on it?
God, I like to say I'm a cancer thriver, not a survivor. I don't know why. I guess because in some ways, when I first did, I've done a lot of what do they call it? Light the Night with LLS. I've done a lot of those over the years. And the very, very first one I did, I went to get my shirt and it said survivor. And I was very newly diagnosed, still really sick. And I'm like, a survivor to me means I fought the battle and I came out on the other side and I was done with the battle. But I felt like I was still in the battle. And what I found when I went to those Light the Night things, what people do there, and when they see survivor, they ask you, oh my gosh, how are you doing? And when did you end your treatment?
Right.
All night long. I hated that. I absolutely hated it. So there was that. And so the next year, my Boise Light the Night chapter, instead of survivor, did a lot of us fighter shirts because we were still fighting, which was amazing. And they tried to, LLS got a little annoyed with them and wasn't real happy. We pulled it off for 2 years and we really tried to get them to change nationwide, which LLS, if anybody out there is listening, think about that, because there's a lot of people still in treatment that are fighting every day and they consider them survivors. Anyway, I guess they are surviving, but they are more fighting. And now I feel like I am thriving. So, yeah, I'm not sure. To answer that, I'm not sure. That I guess that's what it means to me. You know, I'm still here, so I am a survivor for sure.
I like what you. Sorry, go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was just gonna say I'm glad that you mentioned that you consider yourself a thriver, because I think words are really important when it comes to cancer, right? Like what we call ourselves or what other people call us or label us or whatever, right? Like you don't really, like, at some points in your journey you might not think about it so much because you're just like you're just in cancer, like you're just trying to get through it, right? But then at some point you're, you know, you hear somebody call you like a survivor or whatever it is, and you're like, that doesn't really describe me. Like, why am I being lumped in with other people? Like, who came up with the survivor word? Why are all these people called that, right?
Yeah. And I guess, you know, not only do you survive the treatment, the cancer, but you also survive the treatment. Treatment's rough. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's actually the treatment that takes people out, which is really kind of sad too. But it's a reality. But you have, you know, in many different cancers, that's a real possibility. But if you don't take that risk, then you will die anyway. So, you know, I've known personally people that have died from the treatment, but they would have died without the treatment. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Shannon.
So, Tim, you and I are so alike. I was actually thinking the same thing of how much, just how much our words impact our state of mind, how much what we say impacts what we feel, and then in turn what we do or what we're able to do, right? So I love that word, Michele Thriver. As you can see, I had that in my my
I
little
know. I
tiny.
love that. I love
So
that.
there is I do believe that there's a difference between survivor and thriver. Survivor, you're kind of just getting through it. But
Right.
thriver, you're resilient and you're overcoming and you're doing well despite everything and you're enjoying life despite your hardship. And there's just so much in that simple word. So I totally agree with you. And Brian is also totally a thriver and he's just a
Yeah.
badass and I love him. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you that sometimes just having a word that we use to describe ourselves, it gets us through the rough
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. And I do feel as though I'm thriving, not surviving.
You are.
I'm not just hanging on by, my fingernails surviving. I am thriving. You know what? I take these medications and some days I feel like total crap, but dang it, I'm going to enjoy every bit of good moments I have.
For sure. So what is your motivation to keep going and to keep thriving?
Life. I love my life. I love my family. I love my children, my husband, my grandchildren. I just love life. I am grateful and blessed and just so lucky to still be here and enjoy it. And it's beautiful. I look out my back window. As you can see, I'm sitting in my bed because my husband's out in the kitchen barbecuing and stuff. But it's green trees and birds and flowers and it's I don't know. Life is can just be so grand and I don't know. I'm not ready to give up on it. I have too much to do. Too much to see, too much to enjoy, too much to just take in, and it's just the simple things, A lot of times it's just the simple things. Sitting watching the woodpecker grab the sunflower seed and bring it to the crack on the rail and break it open and eat it and then do it again. I mean, I just take so much joy out of life, you know.
So true. So true. Like I love the Bansky painting. I have a print of it on my wall. It says life is beautiful.
It is. Yeah. Aw, thanks, Alyssa. That's
Yes,
so
Alyssa
sweet.
says you've got so much to live in this life, Michele. So
Yeah.
thank you, Alyssa. Michele, I'm curious for some of us, not all of us, but depending where we are in the journey of CML, CML can be an invisible illness. I know oftentimes I feel misunderstood because of that, because people are just like, you're fine, right? You're good. You get it. What's your perspective on living with CML and the perspective of it being an invisible illness at times?
It is. I mean, for the most part, although my hair has turned white and more than half of it's fallen out, it's very thin. Um, Other than that, we don't lose our hair completely, typically. Some people do, but most of us don't, which is, often what people think of a cancer patient
Right.
has no hair, right? So that would make it visible. But I think there's a lot, not just us, but
Yeah.
many cancer treatment patients who don't lose their hair, who suffer years after their treatment's done with side effects and how your body's been damaged. Um, I don't I don't know. I've always well, since I've been diagnosed and since my blog and whatnot, I've always been pretty open about it. Like my husband and I dance. We used to dance competitively, now we dance socially. So on Monday nights, we go out dancing and we
Oh,
social dance. And it used to be that I could dance all night long, every song. I never sat down. And now if I do 3 songs in a row, and that's only since my pleural effusion's gone down. I am so winded and I sit down and I'm huffing and I'm puffing. I'm breathing hard and everybody's like, "You're okay. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." And then, after I catch my breath, I'll say, "You know what? This is normal for me. I actually have leukemia and I'm still undergoing treatment, but this is normal for me." And they're like, "Oh, I had no idea."
right.
Friends that you don't see in 10 years. "Oh my God, I'm so glad. You look so great. I'm so glad that you made it through." And it's like, I'm still, I have no problem sharing with them because for one, then they understand if I cancel on them and I can't make it to lunch. And for two, if they're ever faced with this type of cancer, some other cancer, look, look, she's made it more than 10 years. She survived. Not only she survived, she's thriving. She's alive. She's going about her life. It doesn't have to take us out. So I'm pretty open. Yes, it's invisible, but I am personally pretty open on what's going on in my life. I mean, all my friends know I'm going to the doctor every 3 months. I have to have blood tests. You have the thing on your arm. You got all this other stuff that you have to do to monitor and whatnot. So, yes, it's invisible per se. Not everybody's comfortable with sharing.
Right.
But I think it gives hope. I think it gives understanding, some compassion, by sharing. So I'm not exactly sure, but like I said, I think that's the same way for many cancers and many other illnesses. We don't
Yes.
know, we don't know what a person walking down the street is going through. It could be mental, it could be physical, it could be somebody they love going through it. We all have invisible things. So my thing is always just be kind. Be kind to everyone all the time. You don't know when that person cuts you off or whatever. Why get mad? You don't know what they're experiencing. So I think we all have invisible things going on behind the scenes. And share what you're willing to share. And if you're not comfortable sharing, that's okay too. So I don't know if that answers your question. I just rambled.
No, it does answer the question.
Okay.
Because like each of our journeys is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, like I'm talking about cancer all the time. You talk about cancer. Shannon talks about cancer. But some people don't want to talk about cancer or their heart disease or their depression or whatever they're going through, right? They're like, I want to keep that private. And that's totally up to each person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
We've heard sharing is caring, right? Sometimes you get support from the least expected places, too. So you don't, I mean, I know some people don't have the support, but hopefully they can find it if it's not within their family or their friend group, maybe elsewhere by people like you both. And me and Alyssa and anybody else that will give them the support because that's a big burden to carry on your own. Can you imagine going through treatment and cancer and not knowing if you're going to live or die, not sharing it with anybody? I can't, but I know people do. But I wonder about those people if they had one person to confide in, if their load would be a little lighter, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I didn't share my cancer story for 15 years into my journey.
There you and which, if you look back on that and then say, is it better sharing it or not sharing it? What would you say?
Sharing it because I've connected with people like you and Shannon who at least somewhat understand what I've gone through. Not everything, because all our journeys are different, but more so can understand different aspects of my life than many other people in my life, who haven't had a similar experience. Has that been the same for you?
Yeah. No, because I shared everything with everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know what? My mother was always my mother's very much like me. People will say you are your mother. And now that I'm old, I'm actually old now. I see it. I get it. And that's okay because my mother was a fabulous person. She's no longer here, but she never shared. She always wanted to protect us.
Yeah.
And, there's that aspect too, where people want to protect those around them. And I would get so daggone mad at her. And I'm like, okay, so mom, you have this heart condition and you weren't going to tell us. So you were just going to drop dead and we weren't going to be. I was just not nice to her when I found out. I was so mad at her. And I'm like, that's not okay. I want to be there to help you, to support you, to drive you, to do whatever I can do to make your life easier while you're going through this. And God forbid that it turns out bad. At least I will have been prepared, knowing that you were going through this. Oh, she made me crazy. So as life went on, you know, and years went on, she got much better with sharing what was going on with her. But I swore I would never do that to my children, keep them in the dark. That was something that bothered me as a child with my parents. They were very secretive and very quiet. They didn't talk about money. They didn't talk about health. They didn't talk about anything. Everything was good. You know, and I did not want that type of relationship with my children. So it started there. And it just, yeah, I've just apparently share with the world now. So
Yes. And you're giving people hope by doing it.
oh, yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Let's hope there's that, right? Yeah, who knew?
Totally. I mean, I have found that, you know, for the first 2 years, 3 years of my journey, I was alone. I didn't know anyone else. And then I happened to find an organization, and that's when I found my Blue family. It totally changed my life. And now that I'm in the advocacy space and, you know, I have my own YouTube as well, and I co-host this show at Tim, I share a lot more now with pretty much everybody. I talk cancer and all the time. Like I did there, Tim. I know you appreciate that one. But, I find that almost everyone that we meet has been affected by cancer in some way. 90% of the people that I speak to as total strangers. Sometimes I'm on a trip and it's everyone from the guy pushing my wheelchair in the airport to the Uber driver to the people waiting in the lobby to check in. Like, it's crazy. Like, sometimes it's just, you know, and so Brian and I, he posted this comment. We were eating lunch just yesterday and we are sharing about cancer. And our server shared with us how cancer affected her life. She lost her little sister to leukemia in her 20s. Yep. And then another customer shared how she's actually a survivor of kidney cancer, just right there within a 5-foot radius of each other. Yeah. And, you know, and so we were able to have that moment and connect, and we actually shared, you know, contact information and all of that. And so you're right. Sharing is caring, as Brian said. Yes. You know, and Brian is also, I met Brian because of Tim, and Brian has become another brother to me and, you know, part of my family. So, you know, my own family is not really supportive. And that's why this space is my happy place, because Tim has become my best friend. And, you know, Brian has become a great friend. And I've just made so many friends and, you know, family and just sugar, you know, lots of sugar and honey, you know, right. All of it. And it's just really, really great. And, you know, people think I'm crazy when I say, you know, cancer saved my life and I'm grateful for it.
I know. People have a hard time understanding that. But I don't know. I guess just taking the good with the bad, but it does open up a different world and a different way of looking at life. It really does. And I do think it helps lighten the load.
Yeah.
And to know other people that, especially, I mean, cancer is cancer, in my opinion. Illness is illness. And but when you have somebody that's going through the same type with the same side effects, with the same, you know, every 3 months you have to go get blood work, and the anxiety and stuff that goes with that, it helps just to have somebody else that gets you. Like, I get it. I get it. And it's like, I'm not alone in this. So I really feel bad for people that are. And I in my Facebook group, I know for many of them, our group is all they have. And they're, you know, I'm so grateful they have something. Because not everybody, some people run, you know, you hear you have cancer and they're gone. And that might be a protection of their heart, thinking, oh my God, I knew somebody who had cancer and my mom, she died or whatever. And so they're protecting their heart, like, because they're afraid they're going to lose you, or some people think, oh, if I could catch it, or, there's so many different things out there that, we just don't know, and you can't reach everybody, but we can try to reach as many as we can, right?
True. And,
Yeah.
I always say if I help one person, if I get one person to do a colonoscopy, then my pain was worth it. And, Michele, you've helped countless people. So I hope like you have fulfilled your purpose and you're still fulfilling your purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful to know you, and you're just such an inspiration.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Novartis.
Yes.
Shout out to Novartis.
Yes.
That's where Tim and I met.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Melissa too. Yeah, I know. We're just, I don't know, grateful.
Yeah, same. Before Shannon asks our last question of the show, I just want to show a few more comments. Kara said, I had complete strangers stop and pray for my daughter. The love I have experienced through cancer is amazing.
It is.
And she also said, you have an understanding that all of the things that we thought mattered before cancer really don't matter post-cancer.
So true.
Yes.
So true.
And Jill said earlier, support groups can be found through LLS. Cancercare.org runs online support groups. Your local care support organization can be an amazing source of support and resources. It won't hurt to reach out and try.
Yep.
Okay, Shannon, last question of the show. We're 2 minutes over already, but that's okay.
I told you. You didn't do it.
Okay.
I still think that we did great packing a lot of Michelle's awesomeness into a little over an hour. Like, I think
I do too. I'm not complaining. I'm really excited.
Good.
So Michele, I think this is probably the hardest question, but it's my favorite one. What is your one word perspective on cancer?
My one word.
It can also be a phrase.
For me, I think it would be journey. It is a journey. It's not a sprint. And it's going to take you up and down and around corners and over hills. And I would say journey. It's a journey. It will change you. It will hopefully empower you to realize that you're important and what you have to say is important, and stand up for yourself, and take you to the depths of the lows and the highs of the highs. You have bad news and you have good news, and boy, do you become resilience also. You have to become resilient. Yeah.
Those are great words. Really good. Kara says community.
Community.
Mary says hearing is caring.
It's true.
And also Mary loves your headboard. So shout out to that. Shannon, what is your one word for the week?
I have to say that Michele and I have so many similarities because she's like taken all my favorite words, which are thriver, resilience, journey, all of it. But one thing that I got from Michele that really stood out to me and gave me an image in my mind that I will take on, because I try to do a word that has to do with the episode and our guest and what I get from them. I have to say that my word is dance, because and this is the image that I got in my mind, Michele, when you said that, is cancer is a storm. It's a storm. It's a hurricane. It's a typhoon. It's a tsunami. It's all of that. But the image that I got in my mind through your story and when you said the word dance and that you're a dancer is dancing in the rain. Dancing in the storm that is cancer, and enjoying being in the rain and finding the beauty in it despite everything. That's what image popped in my mind, and it just stuck with me.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Jill loves your word.
Yeah. It's a good word.
I love it too. That's really, how am I going to top these words?
And I walked in the rain today in this whole storm and ruined my hair that I just got done. So but it was a great feeling walking in the rain, although it was downpouring. So, it totally resonated with me, especially today with all the rain.
Yes. So my word is 3 words, Michele, that you said earlier, which is 4 words. You are not alone. Going to the whole idea of when you become a Cancer, fill in the blank, thriver. I usually use the word warrior, whatever word you want to use. If you share your story, and also maybe if you don't share your story, if somebody hears that you have cancer, you become, or had cancer, whatever, you become part of this whole other family that you never knew that you would have. And I know for me, it has been the most amazing 3 years, almost 3 years of my life since I shared my cancer story.
Wow.
Since then, so much has happened. And that was 15 years into my cancer journey. Wow. And so
never too late.
Never too late. That's 3 words also. Never too late. You are not alone. I like that one too. Can I steal that too?
You can. Sharing is caring. You can take any of my words. You
Awesome.
share them, you have them, live them. Yes.
Live them. I love it. And also, there's some more comments. Anai says, you're full of sugar and honey, Shanley. You're a strong fighter. You have come so far. Love you. Get my number from your mom, please. Michele, you look great. Continue what you love. Enjoyed. Love to join when I see you guys live. Best to all your journeys to reach many goals. Stay high.
We will.
Thank you so much. And she also says, love the definition, dance all you can away. And Brian says, Tim is a cancer inspirer.
Yes, I love that. New title.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, inspirer. I like that word.
I love that.
Anyway, Michele, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell people how they can connect with you. And do you have anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up the show? Even though I think we should really go for like 4 hours, but
we probably could. Because blah, 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 blah. I want to thank you for doing this. I think it's wonderful. Like I said, sharing's caring, and people can find you and find us and find a home and find, even if they find one person to connect to, how it will change their life would be just amazing. I have an email, meeeeesh51@gmail. It's meesh51@gmail. And my blog is Dancing and Traveling My Way Through Leukemia.
I love it.
How many
Everybody
E's in
check it
niche?
out. 4 E's. E. If you do 3 E's, then you get the girl in New York. She loved for many years living vicariously through me. She says, I get the best emails for you. It's so funny. But yeah, we became friends. 3 E's and 4 E's. But I'm 4 E's.
Love
That's
it.
funny.
Yeah, pretty funny, huh?
So funny.
Yeah. So, but thank you guys for doing this, and I'm so just grateful to be a part of it.
Thank you, Michele. This has been great. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, Shannon.
You're fine, Tim. This is why we're so alike. We just mesh. No, Michele, it has been an absolute honor meeting you. It's been an honor having you tonight. Like, you have brightened my stormy day. And I just absolutely love you, and I'm so grateful for you being here tonight.
Yes, and you stay in touch.
Yes. The 3 of us tonight are reading each other's comments.
Yes. And enjoy your trip to Michigan.
I will.
Okay. All right, Tim, and I talk to you practically every day. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Michele.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Michele, but thank you for being an awesome guest. Yeah, Michele is definitely connect with Michele. And Michele, let us know maybe you could put in the private chat and I'll let people know what's the name of your Facebook group if you want people to know that. And Shannon.
So As a lot of you know, we are always looking for guests who want to be on the show. It would be an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on here and get to know you and have you share your story. Whether you're a survivor, a family member, an author, whether you work or volunteer with a cancer nonprofit or you run one, whether you're a medical professional or anyone with any perspective on cancer where cancer has impacted you in any way. Please send me or Tim a direct message if you'd like to be a guest on the show. We would be more than happy to have you.
Yes. You know who else would be happy to have this alleged person?
No, who?
Chris the Rubber Chicken. He would be really happy too.
And Gus the Goat.
That too. Yes. And next week's guest is Pamela Bender. She is going to be sharing her story and perspectives as daughter. Her mom was first diagnosed with cancer at the age of 30 and fought like hell for many years until she finally passed at the age of 62. She battled gallbladder, ovarian, uterine, and breast cancers throughout her life. So let's all show up for that show to support Pamela. And then also the next guest for Showing Up Perspectives on Invisible Illnesses, the brand new show that started recently. The next show will be July 2nd, and our guest will be Tracy Hall. The show is on July 2nd, like I said, at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Tracy is a trauma coach and a reinvention coach who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 32. She has struggled with mental health issues for the majority of her life, and she understands on a deep level the grief, frustration, and path to acceptance that can come with a late diagnosis and living with an unseen illness. And one of the things that we're going to talk about on this show is Tracy doesn't consider autism an illness. She considers it a disability. So we're going to talk about the words. We were talking tonight about the importance of words, illness versus disability versus condition, whatever terminology, like what should the terminology be? And it probably depends also on whatever the thing is, right? So let's all show up to support Pamela and Tracy next week, July 2nd, all the times, even beyond the show. Connect with each other, become family, become friends, give each other hugs in the chats. And Shannon, what do you think we should come back next week for another show? What do you think?
Of course.
We should.
Yes, especially because I think it's a special day. I think it's Juneteenth.
Oh, it's Juneteenth.
It's Juneteenth.
That's right. That is definitely the only reason why it's a special day. Because it is Juneteenth. That is a reason to have a show, right?
Yes. And
Definitely.
I think everyone should tune in. It will be really special to celebrate Juneteenth.
Exactly. Yes. So everybody, see you next week for another episode of Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer. And it is that time to, what are we going to do?
With this?
We're going to do the Tim dance.
We're going to
Michelle's doing it.
Show.
Here we go. Have a great week, everybody. Bye. Dance. Bye.